In the tables that follow, a new top is defined as more than 1 point better than the previous top. A pair is within 1 point either way of the horse's previous top. An off race has more than 1 but no more than 4 points worse, and X as worse than that. The Breeders' Cup returns to California this year. And let's start out by looking at how horses from different parts of the country have run in California Breeders' Cups. In dirt races, horses that made their most recent start in New York have run really poorly. Horses that made their last starts in Kentucky or California have done somewhat better. But even with those, it's important to note that 70% of them run worse than their previous tops. It's the end of a long year, and if a horse looks like it might be ready to tail off, it probably is. The interesting thing is that, for whatever reasons, it doesn't seem to apply to grass horses. They run to their previous top or better about half the time, no matter where in North America they come from. And the grass horses that last raced in Europe have run even better. If you're playing one of those not to run their race, you are probably making a mistake. However, there is a caveat with the part regarding dirt horses. In the last 2 California Breeders' Cups, the East Coast shippers have run somewhat better, which could be because trainers have learned how to adjust, or it could just be a random period with a small sample size. There are some other things to consider with the Breeders' Cup being run at Del Mar, not Santa Anita. One is that there is a short stretch, which means closers will have to start their moves earlier on the turn, and that means ground loss and or trouble in big fields. Another is that when they held it here in 2017, there was a dead rail, which can create chaos for handicappers. If you want to look at the sheets of that Del Mar's Breeders' Cup, go to the archive section of our website. The horses that ran on the rail that day are marked with an X. Lasix will not be allowed for this year's races. Most of these horses have not been running on it, so we're pretty much going to ignore it in our handicapping. But bleeding is caused by stress, and many of them have been pushed hard for months. Some of them are going to bleed, whether they show it externally or not, and that adds randomness to the results. There are owners and trainers worth taking note of because they are special cases. The first is Godolphin. Virtually every starter they have had in North America over the last couple of months has run a top, and most have run new tops. The other is Asmus. He sends all his runners out early to assimilate, and they usually run well. So it doesn't matter where his horses last raced. He should be treated like a trainer who is locally based, not one who is shipping in. We say this every year, and we're going to say it again. It's important to watch closely and adjust as the races go along. We will be keeping an eye on how well horses are running on the rail, not just whether the ones inside are winning. Same with the East Coast shippers and the horses of individual barns that have multiple starters. Pay attention. Keep in mind there are a lot of races, and some offer better betting opportunities than others. Also, a negative opinion can be as useful or even more useful than a positive one. Short price horses are on a very high percentage of the exotic tickets, and if you could find one that isn't going to run well, you can not only try to beat him in the win pool, but also throw him out of the exotics and get a lot of leverage if you're right. As you will see, we think we found some of those.